The Intergalactic Academy of Behavioral Sciences floated in the void, a space of academic safety. Inside Lecture Hall 7 Gamma, Professor Valora was about to have the worst day of her academic career. She didn't know it yet. "Death," she began, "is the universal constant that shapes all sentient behavior. From the methane breathers of Titan to the silicon-based Crystari, every species develops around one fundamental truth: the desire to continue existing." The holographic display bloomed behind her a constellation of data points: mortality rates, funeral customs, brain scans showing fear responses to death-related stimuli. It was beautiful and thorough. "Today," Valora continued, her bone ridges casting dramatic shadows that she'd practiced in the mirror for exactly this effect, "we examine the most death-obsessed species in the known galaxy, Homo sapiens." A ripple of interest passed through the assembled students. Humans were the galaxy's newest members, having achieved FTL travel through what their scientists described as fucking around and finding out. Most species spent centuries developing elegant mathematical proofs for faster-than-light travel. Humans had apparently held their collective beer and strapped an experimental drive to a ship. Humans. Valora pulled up an image of a cemetery. Dedicate vast portions of their limited landmass to storing corpses. They inject their dead with preservatives, seal them in expensive boxes, then bury them in concrete vaults, as if death were a temporary inconvenience requiring a good storage solution. Nathan Radley slouched in the back row. He'd enrolled in xenopsychology after the war, figuring understanding alien minds might help him understand his own. So far, all he'd learned was that most aliens had their shit together in ways humans decidedly did not. "Consider their entertainments," Valora continued, warming to her subject. "They have entire genres dedicated to death, horror films where they pay to experience mortal terror, true crime podcasts where they listen to detailed descriptions of murders while performing mundane tasks. They've gamified death in something called Dark Souls, where the tagline is literally, 'You died.'" A Malthorian student raised several of their arms. "Professor, are you suggesting that humans recreationally traumatize themselves?" "Precisely." Valora's mouth slit curved in satisfaction. "They have a saying, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.' This is, of course, biologically inaccurate. What doesn't kill you often leaves you with missing limbs or psychological damage. Yet, humans cling to this mythology." Nathan snorted. It wasn't intentional. He'd been thinking about his best friend Jordan, who'd lost 3 fingers to frostbite and claimed it made him 25% better at shadow puppets. "Their architecture," Valora continued, not yet noticing, "reaches desperately toward the sky. Skyscrapers, they call them, as if they could escape their mortality by building higher. The tallest one is named after a human who died in the attacks that prompted its construction. Even their monuments to achievement are actually monuments to death." Nathan's snort evolved into a chuckle. He couldn't help it. Last week, he'd watched a video of humans base jumping off of those same skyscrapers. The comment section was full of people asking, "How can I also yeet myself off a building with fabric wings?" "Their language is saturated with death metaphors." Valora pulled up a linguistic chart. "Dead tired, drop dead gorgeous, to die for, death and taxes. They've integrated mortality into casual conversation to the point where their fear of death is so obvious." Nathan lost it. The laugh erupted from somewhere deep in his chest, the kind that starts as a giggle and builds into something you can't control. He tried to muffle it, really, he did, but that just made it worse. Soon, he was full-on cackling, tears streaming down his face. 200 alien heads swiveled in perfect synchronization, like a field of extremely judgmental sunflowers. The lecture hall's acoustics were designed to carry a whisper from the back row to the podium. "Is there something you find amusing about your species' pathological relationship with mortality, Mr. Nathan wiped his eyes, still grinning. Radley. Nathan Radley. And yeah, actually, this whole thing's fucking hilarious. Perhaps, Valora said, each word pointed, you'd like to share your insights with the class? Nathan stood, stretching like a cat that had just knocked over something expensive. His dog tags clinked against each other. He still wore them, though the war had been over for 2 years. Some habits died harder than the people who formed them. Sure thing, Professor. He ambled down the steps, hands in pockets, projecting the kind of casual confidence that only comes from having already survived the worst day of your life. Several times. But, first, let me ask you something. What's the average lifespan of a Vorthak? Valora's bone ridges shifted, the equivalent of raising an eyebrow. 400 standard years. Nice. And, the Yorthians? They experience time non-linearly, but, approximately 6 centuries. Cool. Nathan reached the front, turned to face the class. Humans? We get, maybe 80 years, if we're lucky. 100 if we eat our vegetables and avoid explosions. My great-grandmother lived to 97, and you know what she said on her deathbed? The class leaned forward despite themselves. She said, I've buried a husband, 2 sons and a daughter. I've survived 2 wars, a pandemic, and 70 years of marriage to a man who thought loading a dishwasher was a spectator sport. Death can kiss my wrinkled ass. Nathan pulled out his phone, swiped to a photo. This was her at 95, going skydiving for the first time. You see that grin? That's not someone running from death. She didn't live in fear of death. She lived in spite of it. Valora's fingers hovered over her holographic controls. Mr. Radley, you're suggesting that humans cope with mortality through humor? I'm suggesting, Nathan said, his grin sharp as a combat knife, that we don't cope with mortality at all. We embrace it, we flirt with it. We take it out for drinks and don't call it back. Dead silence, which Nathan reflected was appropriate. He wasn't sure why he made it sound like humans were horned up for death exactly. Probably not the best analogy. Look, he continued, pulling up more photos on his phone. He showed a photo of a human swimming with sharks. This is my cousin. She paid money to get in the water with the apex predators. For fun. Her wedding gift registry included cage diving experience with great whites. She married a man who thought that was romantic. They're expecting their first kid, who will probably come out wearing a baby shark onesie and flipping off mortality. But the fear, Valora began. What fear? Nathan interrupted. Professor, we invented bungee jumping. We took the primal fear of falling and turned it into a tourist attraction. We pay money to have our bodies dropped off bridges with glorified rubber bands attached to our ankles. We've monetized our own mortality. Do you understand how batshit that is? He pulled up another photo, this one of Earth from space. You see this ball of dirt and water? Everything on it has tried to kill us. Weather, predators, diseases, other humans. The planet itself throws tantrums. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes. And what did we do? We built cities in deserts. We put bases on Antarctica. We're planning to colonize Mars, which is basically a frozen, irradiated hellscape. Why? Because it's there. And we're too stubborn to let a little thing like completely hostile to life stop us. A Vorthak student raised a delicate hand. Speaking of war, do soldiers not fear death? Nathan went quiet for a moment, thinking of his own experience with war. When he spoke again, his voice carried weight. Of course we fear death, sometimes. But we fear other things more. Letting down our friends, missed opportunities. Dying for nothing. So, yeah, we're scared. But we go anyway. Because the alternative is worse than death. It's a life not lived. He pulled up one more photo. A young soldier, barely out of his teens, grinning at the camera. This was Marston, 19 years old. Wanted to be a teacher. Loved terrible puns and worse coffee. He died in my arms after stepping on an IED. The class held its breath. His last words were a joke. Blood everywhere, organs failing. And he asked me to tell his mom he finally beat Jordan at poker. Made me promise. You know why? Because he didn't want his mom's last memory of him to be pain. He wanted it to be laughter. That's human death, Professor. We don't go gentle into that good night. We go making inappropriate jokes and trying to make sure the people we leave behind remember us smiling. Valora's holographic presentation flickered. Half her slides, meticulously researched data on human thanatophobia, suddenly seemed as substantial as smoke. The silence that followed was profound. It was the silence of 200 alien minds simultaneously recalibrating their understanding of the universe's newest spacefaring species. Finally, Valora deleted her entire presentation with one swift gesture. "Class," she said quietly, "I believe we need to reconsider our approach to human psychology. Mr. Radley, would you be willing to continue?" Nathan's grin was proud and excited. "Sure, but fair warning, this is gonna get weird. Human weird. Which is like regular weird, but with more explosions and inappropriate humor." He turned to the class. "So, who wants to hear about the time humans decided to strap themselves to barely controlled explosions and fly to the moon? Because that story involves way more duct tape than you'd think was safe. Spoiler alert, it wasn't." After many hours explaining the insanity that involved humans achieving spaceflight, the professor asked a question. "You mentioned earlier," Valora said carefully, "that humans fear mediocrity more than death. Can you elaborate?" Nathan's expression grew thoughtful. "You ever hear of something called a bucket list?" Blank stares all around. "It's a list of things you do before you kick the bucket, or die. Humans make lists of experiences they want before death. Skydiving, seeing the northern lights, swimming with dolphins, eating fugu. That's a fish that can kill you if it's prepared wrong. We put potentially die from dinner on our bucket lists, because the alternative is dying without ever really living." "But surely," Riddick said slowly, "extending life would be preferable to cramming experiences into a brief existence?" "You'd think that." Nathan pulled up another image, this one of an elderly human bungee jumping. "But here's the thing about humans. We don't want more time. We want better time. Quality over quantity. My buddy's grandmother got diagnosed with terminal cancer. 6 months to live. And you know what she did? Sold her house, bought an RV, and spent her last months visiting every national park in North America. Died watching the sunrise over the Grand Canyon. Her last words were, 'Bet you'd wish you'd come with me now, Harold.' Harold was her husband. He'd been dead for 10 years. The class didn't know whether to laugh or be horrified. Several managed both. "That's another thing," Nathan continued, warming to his theme. "We talk to dead people. Not in a seance and crystals way, though we do that too, but casually. 'Hey, Mom, made your lasagna recipe today. Still can't get it right. Miss ya.' We carry on full conversations with people who aren't there anymore because death doesn't end relationships for humans. It just makes them complicated." A new hand went up, this one belonging to what looked like a very anxious geometric proof. "Mr. Radley, your military service, did it not make you fear death more?" Nathan went still, the kind of still that made several students lean back instinctively. "You want to know what war taught me about death?" His voice had dropped an octave. "That it's easy. Dying is the easiest thing in the world. One moment you're there, next you're not. What's hard? Living with the deaths of others. Carrying them. That's why we make jokes. Not because death is funny. Because if we don't laugh, we'll break under the weight of all the ghosts we carry. He pulled out his dog tags, let them catch the light. Each of these represents someone who didn't come home. You think I wear them because I fear death? I wear them because I fear forgetting. Death takes people, but only we can let them disappear. That's... Valora paused, searching for words. That's profound, Mr. Radley. Nah. The grin was back, though softer now. That's human. We're all amateur philosophers when you scratch the surface. Give any human 3 beers and an existential crisis and they'll solve the meaning of life. Badly, but with enthusiasm. Speaking of alcohol, Quillick said, arms weaving a complex pattern of curiosity. Humans voluntarily consume poison for recreation? Oh boy. Nathan rubbed his hands together. You want to talk about our relationship with death? Let's talk about human recreation. We ferment fruits until it becomes poison, then drink it for fun. We eat peppers that cause actual pain because we like the endorphin rush. We climb mountains that kill 1 in 4 climbers because it's there. We invented a sport where we strap knives to our feet and hit a hard rubber disc at each other at 100 miles per hour. For fun, on ice. Where falling means potentially getting your throat cut by said foot knives. Hockey, said another human exchange student from the middle of the room. Nathan hadn't noticed her before. She was wearing a jersey with Georgie written on the back. You're describing hockey. A fellow connoisseur of controlled violence. Nathan pointed at her. What's your team? Winnipeg Jets. Ah, you understand suffering then. Perfect qualification for this discussion. He turned back to the class. This human has chosen to emotionally invest in a sport where losing teeth is considered a minor inconvenience, where players get stitched up on the bench and return to the game, where he died doing what he loved could literally mean getting in a fistfight on ice while thousands cheered. Your entire species seems to have a pathological relationship with risk, Valora observed. Not pathological, philosophical. Nathan pulled up a photo of himself and others in military gear, all grinning despite the obvious danger of their surroundings. See these idiots? We're in an active war zone. There are literally things exploding in the background and we're smiling. You know why? Because it's just normal. I don't understand, Riddick said. Exactly! Nathan clapped. You don't understand because you're trying to apply logic to something that is fundamentally illogical. Humans don't make sense. We're walking contradictions held together by caffeine and spite. We know we're gonna die, so we live harder. We're afraid of being forgotten. So, we do memorable things. We can't defeat death, so we make friends with it. We invite it to parties, we name cocktails after it. We write it love songs and breakup ballads. Love songs to death? A student who looked like they were made of origami and anxiety unfolded slightly in interest. Oh, we got millions. Don't fear the Reaper. Knocking on heaven's door. Live and let die. Another one bites the dust. We've made it death into every genre of music. Pop death, rock death, death metal, which is exactly what it sounds like. We even got comedy songs about death. Always look on the bright side of life, written for a movie about a guy being crucified. The character whistles it while dying. It became a funeral favorite. Humans are the only species that would play a comedy song at a funeral and consider it appropriate. But why? Valora had abandoned all pretense of teaching and was now just trying to understand. Why court something that will inevitably claim you? Nathan thought about it. Really thought about it. The class waited, sensing this was important. Because, he said finally, the alternative is paralysis. If you spend your whole life afraid of dying, you never actually live, you just exist. And existing isn't enough for humans. We need purpose, connection, meaning. We need to matter. And the only way to matter is to act like your actions matter, even knowing that in a cosmic sense, they don't. He pulled up a video on his phone. This is a guy named Terry Fox. Lost his leg to cancer. Decided to run across Canada on one leg and a prosthetic to raise money for cancer research. The cancer came back. He kept running. It spread to his lungs. He kept running. He made it 3,339 miles before the cancer forced him to stop. He died 9 months later. He was 22. The class was silent. Every year, millions of people run in his memory. They've raised over $850 million for cancer research. One kid, with one leg, who refused to stop running even though he knew it would kill him. That's human death. Not an ending. A punctuation mark that makes the sentence matter. You make death sound almost noble, observed the Yorthian. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's stupid, sometimes it's both. Nathan shrugged. Is that why you document everything? Valora gestured to Nathan's phone. This obsessive recording of existence. Partly, but mostly because we're hilarious and we know it. Nathan scrolled through his photos. Look, here's humans. We developed photography to document important events, and immediately took pictures of our cats. We created the internet to share scientific data and immediately used it to argue about whether a dress was blue or gold. We're ridiculous, and we're gonna die. So we might as well document the ridiculousness for whoever comes next. But the existential weight, began a student who looked like they were permanently in the middle of an anxiety attack. Is hilarious, Nathan interrupted. Don't you get it? The universe is billions of years old. It'll last billions more. We get maybe a century. We're cosmic mayflies. We shouldn't matter. But we decided we do anyway, out of pure spite and stubbornness. We looked at the infinite cosmos and said, yeah, but have you tried pizza? That's the most human thing ever. We can't comprehend the scale of existence, so we focus on making really good food and hoping someone remembers our names. And if they don't? Valora asked quietly. Then, at least we had pizza. Nathan's grin was softer now. Look, humans aren't complex. We're simple creatures with complex coping mechanisms. We know we're temporary. We know we're insignificant. We know we're gonna lose everyone we love, and we've decided the appropriate response is to love harder, laugh louder, and leave the universe a little weirder than we found it. A Gorthak student who'd been silent until now spoke up. Earlier, you laughed when Professor Valora discussed human death rituals. Why? Nathan's expression grew thoughtful. Because she was missing the point. Our rituals aren't about death. They're about life. Funerals? Those are for the living. We gather, we tell stories. We ugly cry, we get drunk. We remember. Irish wakes are parties. New Orleans jazz funerals are parades. Viking funerals were basically the universe's most metal barbecue. We don't mourn death. We celebrate having known someone worth mourning. He pulled up another photo. A gravestone that read, I told you I was sick. This is Spike Milligan's grave. Comedy writer. Spent his whole life making people laugh. Made sure he'd make them laugh after he died, too. That's human death culture in a nutshell. If you're gonna go with style. Make it memorable. Make it yours.
You keep saying, make it yours, observed Riddix, as if death were something to be customized. Isn't it? Nathan challenged.
We can't choose whether we die, but we can choose how we face it. With dignity or defiance. With grace or gallows humor. Death is the one appointment we all have to keep. Might as well show up dressed to impress, or not, if that's your preference.
The human exchange student, the hockey fan, raised her hand.
Can I add something?
Nathan gestured welcomingly.
Please, I'm dying to hear it.
He paused.
See what I did there?
She stood.
Humans don't just laugh at death, she said. We make friends with it. We have characters like Death in our stories who are often kind. The Grim Reaper is scary, sure, but also sometimes he's just a dude doing a job. We've got Death as a goth girl who likes goldfish. Death as a butler. Death as a buddy you can always challenge to a game of chess or poker or Twister. We've personified death so many times in so many ways that it's not even scary anymore. It's just Gary from accounting who happens to collect souls.
Gary? Valora looked bewildered.
Could be a Gary.
The student shrugged.
Could be Susan. Point is, we gave death a name and a personality and probably a Twitter account. We made it small enough to understand, manageable enough to mock, human enough to relate to. That's our superpower. We humanize everything, including the thing that makes us stop being human. Exactly!
Nathan pointed at her with finger guns.
What's your name?
Samantha. Samantha, Georgie.
Samantha gets it! We can't beat death, so we made it relatable. We gave it a job we could understand. We wrote it into our stories as everything from villain to friend to lover. We've shipped death with so many characters. I'm pretty sure there's fanfiction about it.
There is so much fanfiction, Samantha confirmed. Nathan turned back to the class.
We write AU fanfic where death runs a flower shop. We cannot deal with cosmic horror, so we turn it into cosmic comedy. It's our thing.
Valora looked like she was having an existential crisis. Mr. Radley, Miss Georgie, you're telling me humans have domesticated the concept of death?
Domesticated is a strong word, Nathan said. You can't be afraid of something that laughs at your jokes. And death has heard all our jokes. We've been telling them since we figured out language. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. That's a death joke. The other side. The afterlife. A chicken committing vehicular suicide. And we tell it to children.
Your children's entertainment includes death jokes? Quillix's arms formed what Nathan was pretty sure was the universal gesture for, what the actual fuck?
Oh, you have no idea.
Samantha skated. Actually skated to the front of the room.
Disney movies? Parental death is basically a requirement. Bambi, Lion King, Frozen. Younger generations have even turned suicidal ideation into a comedy genre. I want to die is how we say, I'm having a bad day. It's concerning, but also hilarious.
That's... Valora paused. Deeply troubling.
Welcome to humanity,
Nathan and Samantha said in unison, then high-fived. A student near the back, one who'd been frantically taking notes, raised several appendages.
You mentioned earlier that humans who don't fear death can't be controlled. Can you elaborate?
Nathan and Samantha exchanged a look.
Well, Nathan said slowly, you can threaten us with death, but we threaten ourselves with death for fun. You can promise us longer life, but we'll probably spend it doing dangerous things because we're bored. We're the species that looked at the prisoner's dilemma and chose, fuck you, as a valid option. We cannot be managed, we can barely be reasoned with.
We invented democracy, Samantha added. Because we're too ornery to let anyone tell us what to do without arguing about it first. We invented revolution, because sometimes arguing isn't enough. We invented punk rock because sometimes you need to set the argument to a 3-chord progression and scream it at people. But surely, Riddick said, there must be something that universally motivates human compliance. Nathan and Samantha looked at each other again. They both grinned. It was not a reassuring expression. Pizza, they said in unison. I'm sorry? Valora blinked. Free pizza, Nathan clarified. You want humans to show up? Offer free pizza. You want them to sit through a boring meeting? Pizza. You want them to help you move? Pizza and beer. We cannot be threatened into compliance, but we can absolutely be bribed with cheese and carbs. That seems reductive, Valora said weakly. Lady, Samantha said, executing a perfect roller skate spin. We're a species that will eat ghost peppers on a dare and climb Everest because it's there. We're not complex, we're just weird. And we're okay with that. Because tomorrow we might be dead, but today? Today, there's pizza. The class sat in stunned silence. Several students were still taking notes. One appeared to be having a philosophical crisis. The Gorthrak in the back was definitely reconsidering every interaction they'd ever had with humans. The silence that followed was profound. It was the silence of minds recalibrating, of worldviews shifting, of 200 aliens simultaneously realizing that the newest species in the galaxy was completely, utterly, gloriously insane, and possibly unstoppable because of it. Valora looked at her deleted presentation, then at Nathan and Samantha, then at her students. Several were still processing. Others had started sketching. Apparently the human approach to mortality was contagious. I think, she said slowly, we need to completely reconsider our approach to human psychology. Probably, Nathan agreed cheerfully. But hey, at least it'll be interesting. Humans, we put the fun in fundamentally unsuitable for existence since 300,000 BCE. That's not how the word works, Riddick pointed out. See? Nathan grinned. You're already thinking like a human, making jokes about death and etymology. Welcome to the club. We have jackets. They're flammable, but they look cool. Alright, since Professor Valora is having what the humans call an existential crisis, I guess I'm your substitute teacher. Nathan had somehow acquired a laser pointer, which he was using with the enthusiasm of a kid who'd found his dad's lightsaber. Pop quiz. Who can name a human celebration that doesn't involve potential death? Silence. Anyone? No? That's 'cause there aren't any. New Year's Eve, we set off explosives in populated areas. 4th of July, bigger explosives. Gender reveal parties, we've literally set entire states on fire to announce what genitals a baby has. We've turned telling people about infant junk into an extinction event. That's peak human. Samantha had skated back to the front and was now doing lazy figure eights while adding commentary. Don't forget birthdays. We set food on fire and dare people to blow it out in one breath. Make a wish while you tempt the fire gods. Very normal. Very safe. Exactly. Nathan pointed the laser at a hologram, accidentally activating it. A video of humans running in front of bowls began playing. Ah, perfect. Running of the bowls. We took large, angry animals with pointy bits and made a sport out of not getting impaled. The whole point is to almost die. If you actually die, you lose. If you don't almost die, you also lose because where's the fun in that? A Malthorian student raised 3 of their 7 arms. Mr. Radley, these all seem to be examples of unnecessary risk-taking. Surely, human culture has examples of death avoidance? Death Avoidance? Nathan looked genuinely puzzled. Oh, you mean like safety regulations? Yeah, we have those. I mostly ignore them. Caution, hot. Labels on coffee? That's because someone drank lava and sued. Do not eat on silica gel packets. Someone ate them. Do not use hairdryer in shower. Someone... You know what? I don't want to know what someone did, but they did it. We had to put do not drink on bleach, Samantha added helpfully. During a pandemic, when people thought drinking bleach could cure a virus. Human intelligence is fascinating. We can split atoms and also need warning labels telling us not to drink the thing that burns through organic matter. But your medical advances, Valora interjected, having recovered enough to speak. Surely those indicate a desire to prevent death? Oh, absolutely, Nathan agreed. We're hugely into preventing death. We just suck at it. We'll spend millions developing a cure for something, then refuse to take it because someone on the internet said it makes you magnetic. We invented vaccines, one of our greatest achievements, and then decided not to use them because a discredited doctor and a celebrity who got famous for showing her tits said they cause autism, which, by the way, even if they did, which they don't, humans would rather die of preventable diseases than risk being neurodivergent. We're great. We're terrible, Samantha corrected, executing a perfect spin. But in an entertaining way. Same thing. Nathan pulled up more images. Look, humans are contradictions. We wear seatbelts but text while driving. We put helmets on kids but let them play full contact sports. We ban Kinder eggs because they're choking hazards, but sell actual guns in the same stores. We cannot assess risk. Our brains are meat computers running software that hasn't been updated since we were fighting saber-toothed cats. Then how? Riddix asked. Have you survived as a species? Spite, Nathan and Samantha said in unison. Also, Nathan added, we're really good at working together when shit hits the fan. Humans are at our best when everything's worst. Disaster, we form communities. Tragedy, we hold hands. Apocalypse, we share our last can of beans and make jokes about the end times. We can't be defeated because we're too busy helping each other to notice we should be dead. The term post-apocalyptic fiction is distinctly human, Samantha noted. Other species have extinction fiction, end times mythology, final chapter narratives. Humans, we have post-apocalyptic, as in the apocalypse happened and we're still here, probably making a sitcom about it. How I Met Your Mother during the nuclear winter. Friends, but everyone has radiation poisoning. We can't even imagine our own extinction properly. That's because we're narratively immortal, Nathan said, then paused. Holy shit, that sounded way smarter than I intended. What I mean is, humans exist in stories. Even when we die, the stories persist, and as long as there's one human left to tell them, we all kind of live forever. Narrative immortality. We defeated death by making it a plot point. A Yorthian student raised a delicate hand. Earlier, you showed us war casualties. How do you reconcile celebration of life with the mass death of warfare? Nathan's expression went serious. Samantha stopped skating. We don't, Nathan said quietly. That's the human paradox. We love life, and we're really good at ending it. We create and destroy with equal enthusiasm. We can split atoms to power cities or level them. We developed flight to touch the sky and immediately used it to drop bombs. We're capable of incredible beauty and horrific violence, sometimes in the same afternoon. He pulled up a photo. A field of poppies. After World War I, poppies grew in the battlefields. Millions dead.
and flowers bloomed in the churned earth. A Canadian soldier doctor wrote a poem about it. Now we wear poppies to remember. Beauty from horror. Memory from loss. That's human warfare. We're so good at killing each other that flowers learn to grow from our corpses. And we thought that was poetic enough to make it tradition. We're walking contradictions, Samantha added softly. We'll die for strangers, but kill for ideas. We'll save a whale, but eat a cow. We'll march for peace, but fight for freedom. We don't make sense, because sense isn't survivable. You know what is? Adaptability. And you can't adapt if you're consistent. So, humans are chaos? Valora asked. Humans are jazz, Nathan corrected. Improvisation with a theme. The theme is survival, but everything else, we're making it up as we go. And somehow, it works. We've been improvising for 300,000 years, and we've gotten pretty good at it. Death, that's just another note in the composition. Maybe it's the final note, but that doesn't make the music less beautiful. Speaking of music, Samantha added, skating to the holographic controls. Can I show them something? Nathan gestured grandly. The floor is yours. Try not to set anything on fire. Samantha pulled up a video. It was grainy, clearly historical. This is Voyager's golden record. In 1977, we sent a spacecraft to explore the outer planets. We knew it would eventually leave our solar system, so we included a record. Music, greetings, sounds of Earth. A message for anyone who might find it. The class watched as images from the record played. Mathematical concepts, human anatomy, nature sounds, music from dozens of cultures. We sent this knowing we'd be dead before it reached another star, Samantha continued. Everyone involved in the project, dead, before any alien could possibly find it. But we sent it anyway, because humans can't help but reach out. We threw a bottle into the cosmic ocean with a note that says, "We're here. We lived. We made beautiful things." That's human death. Not an ending, but a message. We existed. Remember us. But why? The question came from a student who looked like geometry having an emotion. Why care if you're remembered after death? Nathan and Samantha exchanged glances. Because, Nathan said finally, the only thing worse than dying is never having mattered. We're terrified of insignificance, so we build pyramids, paint chapels, write symphonies, have children, name stars, carve our initials in trees. We scream into the void, "I was here!" and hope the echo outlasts us. My great-grandmother, Samantha added, used to say, "They can kill you, but they can't eat you." Which is technically incorrect. Cannibalism is a thing, but the sentiment stands. They can end your life, but they can't erase your impact. Every person you've helped, every life you've touched, every stupid joke you've told, it ripples outward. We're all just throwing stones in the cosmic pond and hoping the ripples matter. And if they don't? Riddix asked. Then at least we made ripples. Nathan shrugged. Look, humans don't need cosmic significance. We create our own. My buddy Martin died thinking about poker debts. Was that cosmically significant? No. Does it matter to his wife, who laughs every time she sees a deck of cards? Absolutely. Human significance is local, personal. We matter to each other, and that's enough. This seems like a very limited form of immortality, Valora observed. All immortality is limited, Samantha said, resuming her skating. Stars die, galaxies fade.
The universe will eventually experience heat death. Nothing is forever. Humans just accepted that first and decided to work with it instead of against it. We're mayflies who learn to write. Every word is defiance.
Nathan pulled up another image. Cave paintings from Lascaux.
Thousands of years ago, humans drew on walls. Why? Who knows? Maybe they were bored, maybe they were inspired. Maybe they were just like, hey, I can make the wall look like a horse. But thousands of years later, we're still looking at their horses. They're still telling us, we're here. We saw beauty, we tried to capture it. That's human immortality. Not living forever. Making something worth remembering.
But the futility, a student began.
Is the point, Nathan interrupted. Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the mountain forever. Except humans would name the boulder, bedazzle it, and start a blog about the experience. Day 2847 of pushing Roger up the hill. Today we listen to true crime podcasts. Roger is suspected of enjoying them. We can't be defeated by futility, because we'll make futility entertaining.
We put googly eyes on everything, Samantha added. Roombas, cars, buildings. We anthropomorphize objects and then feel bad when they break. I once apologized to a toaster. Why? Because humans pack bond with everything. Death? We pack bonded with death. It's our frenemy now.
That's insane,
muttered Quillix.
That's survival,
Nathan corrected.
You can't defeat something you've befriended. Sun Tzu said, know your enemy. Humans said, make your enemy a meme. Death is just another character in the human story, sometimes villain, sometimes friend, always inevitable. We're cool with it.
You're cool with death? Valora sounded skeptical.
I mean, we'd prefer not to, Nathan admitted. But since it's happening anyway, might as well make it interesting. You know, there are people who get buried in custom coffins, shaped like cars or guitars, or one guy got buried in a Pringles can. True story, his kids honored his wishes to be cremated and buried in an original flavor Pringles can. 'Cause if you're gonna go weird.
There's a service, Samantha added, still skating because apparently she never stopped, where they'll turn your ashes into vinyl records. Your last words, favorite songs, whatever. Death as a playable album. Tell me that's not the most human thing ever.
I'm starting to think,
Valora said slowly, that humans don't so much defeat death as befriend it?
Befriend, bedazzle, and take it to karaoke,
Nathan confirmed.
Death is just another experience. Probably the last one, but still. Humans collect experiences like Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all, including the final boss.
Speaking of Pokemon, Samantha said, pulling up an image. Humans created a children's game about capturing creatures and making them fight until they pass out. We gave children a fun way to engage with concepts of defeat, loss, and recovery. Also, there's a Pokemon that's literally a ghost. We made death cute and gave it to 6-year-olds. Because that's good parenting, apparently.
Everything you're describing, Riddick said, sounds like a species-wide coping mechanism for existential terror.
Or, Nathan suggested, or just like this. Maybe we're not coping with anything. Maybe we're just weird. Little chaos gremlins who looked at the universe and went, bet I can make this stranger. And then we did. Repeatedly for millennia. We're the species that developed nuclear weapons and then used the technology to make microwaves so we could heat burritos faster. We can't be predicted because we don't know what we're doing either.
Then how do you function as a civilization? Valora asked, genuinely bewildered.
Badly, Samantha said cheerfully, but with enthusiasm. And pizza. Don't forget the pizza.
The secret to human civilization, Nathan said, assuming what he probably thought was a lecturer pose, is that we're all making it up as we go. But we're making it up together. We built societies on the principle of let's try this and see if it kills us. Democracy, an experiment. The internet, an accident that became essential. Cryptocurrency, we literally invented imaginary money and somehow made it worth real money. We're chaos, but we're collaborative chaos. My sociology professor, Samantha added, said humans are eusocial chaos monkeys. We work together like ants, but with worse impulse control and better music. That's beautiful. Nathan wiped an imaginary tear. I'm stealing that for my dating profile. Eusocial chaos monkey. Seek similar. For long walks on beach and overthrowing systems of oppression. You're on dating apps? Samantha raised an eyebrow. How else am I supposed to find someone who appreciates my collection of existential memes and military-grade gallows humor? Fair point. Valora looked between them, then at her class, many of whom were now taking notes with the fervor of students who'd realized they were witnessing something historic, or historically weird. With humans, it was hard to tell the difference. Mr. Radley, Miss Georgie, she said formally. I believe you've fundamentally altered our understanding of human psychology. This will require a complete revision of your xenopsychological frameworks. Cool, Nathan said. Do we get extra credit? I don't think you understand, Valora continued. This changes everything. Every assumption about death-avoidant species evolution, every model of fear-based behavior. You've suggested humans aren't driven by fear of death, but by what? Fear of irrelevance? Fear is a strong word, Samantha said, finally stopping her skating. We're driven by FOMO. FOMO? Several aliens asked at once. Fear of missing out, Nathan explained. We're not afraid of death. We're scared of not living first. We're scared of dying before we've done the thing, whatever the thing is. Climb Everest, write a novel, eat at that really good taco place. Tell someone we love them. We're in a race against time and we know we're losing, but damn if we're not gonna make it a photo finish. Hence the constant documentation, Samantha added. Pics or it didn't happen. We photograph everything because we're trying to prove we existed. We lived. We were here. We mattered. Even if only to ourselves. But that's... Valora paused, searching for words. That's beautiful. And sad. Simultaneously. Welcome to humanity, Nathan and Samantha chorused. We're beautiful and sad and ridiculous and profound, Nathan continued. We're apes who split atoms. We're mortals who touch the stars. We're dying from the moment we're born. And we decided to make that everyone else's problem. We're humans. We're impossible. And we're not done yet. What do you mean, not done? Asked a nervous-looking student. Nathan grinned. It was the grin of a species that had looked at the food chain and decided to flip it upside down for fun. We've barely started. We've only been in space for like 60 years. We've only had internet for 30. We just figured out CRISPR, and we're already trying to eliminate death at the cellular level. Not because we're afraid of it, but because we're curious what happens next. What does humanity look like when death is optional? I don't know, but I bet it's weird. Weirder than this? Quillix gestured with all 7 arms. Oh, definitely, Samantha said. Humans without death? We'll probably invent super death just to feel something. Extreme mortality sports. How many times can you die and be revived in an hour? That sort of thing. We can't be stopped, only redirected. That's terrifying, someone whispered. That's the spirit! Nathan applauded. See, you're getting it! Humans are terrifying. We're the species that looked at the universe. Vast, cold, indifferent, and decided to explore it in tin cans powered by explosions. We're the species that saw death coming and decided to make it a party. We're the species that cannot be threatened because we've already thought of worse things to do to ourselves for fun. And we're just getting started, Samantha added ominously. The class sat in stunned silence. Several students had stopped taking notes and were simply staring. One appeared to be reconsidering every life choice that had led them to this moment. Finally, a small voice from the back asked, "So, what happens when humans achieve immortality?" Nathan and Samantha exchanged a look. The kind of look that suggested they'd discussed this before, probably at 3 a.m. over pizza and existential dread. Honestly, Nathan said, we'll probably get bored and event mortality again. Call it vintage dying or artisanal death. Hipsters will be into it. I was into death before it was optional. We'll have death cafes where people go to experience temporary mortality. It'll be a whole thing. Or, Samantha suggested, we'll find something else to define ourselves against. Death is just our current boss battle. Once we beat it, we'll find a new one. Heat death of the universe? Time itself? God? Who knows? Humans need something to push against or we get weird. Weirder, Nathan corrected. Weirder, Samantha agreed. Valora had given up all pretense of professional composure and was now just staring at them. You're telling me humans will intentionally create challenges just to have something to overcome? Have you seen our video games? Nathan asked. We literally pay money to be frustrated. Dark Souls, Getting Over It, QWOP. We create torture simulators and call them entertainment. We can't be satisfied. Contentment is death for humans. Not literal death, we're cool with that, but metaphorical death. The death of growth, of challenge, of purpose. We'd rather die trying than live succeeding, Samantha summarized. Success is boring. Failure is educational. Death is just failure with commitment. That's not how death works, Riddix protested. That's not how death works. Yet, Nathan corrected. Give us time. We'll figure out how to make death optional, reversible, and probably downloadable. Death 2.0. Now with achievements and microtransactions. You're joking, Valora said weakly. Am I? Nathan asked. We've already got people signing up to have their heads frozen so they can be revived later. We've got other people uploading their consciousness to computers. We got Silicon Valley tech bros trying to solve death like it's a coding problem. Humans don't accept limitations. We see a boundary and we immediately start looking for ways around, over, under, or through it. Death? That's just the ultimate boundary, and we're already working on it. But why? The question came from multiple students simultaneously. Nathan and Samantha looked at each other, then at the class, then back at each other. Because it's there, they said in unison. That's it? Valora demanded. Your entire philosophical framework, because it's there? Pretty much. Nathan shrugged. We can't leave well enough alone. We must touch the thing. We must push the button. We must see what happens when we add googly eyes to the abyss. The abyss looks back, Samantha added. But now it's adorable. Professor Valora stood in the silence, her holographic controls dark, her meticulously prepared lecture a ghost in the machine. She looked at the two humans, Nathan and Samantha,
one leaning with the casual stillness of a predator at rest, the other a whirlwind of kinetic energy, momentarily paused. Then she looked at her students. They weren't just listening anymore. They were processing. The Malthorian was sketching what looked suspiciously like a Reaper riding a skateboard. The geometric proof was subtly attempting a high five with his own appendage. The Yorthian, who experienced time non-linearly, looked like it was trying very hard not to remember this lecture before it had even happened. Valora's entire academic framework, built on the elegant, logical foundation that all life seeks to avoid its end, had been dismantled, not with data or debate, but with stories of spiteful grandmothers, recreational poison, and the philosophical weight of pizza. She slowly raised a hand and reactivated her display, erasing the last vestiges of her original presentation. In its place, she typed a new course title: An Introduction to Human Contradiction, Theoretical Applications of Existential Spite. "Class," she said, her voice carrying a new, unfamiliar weight of awe and terror. "Your final thesis is no longer about death avoidance. It is now about this. Analyze how different species face mortality. Explain your work." She turned to Nathan and Samantha. "You both received top marks and an official warning. I'm not sure for what exactly, but I feel it is necessary." Nathan and Samantha high-fived. The students began to pack up, the usual post-lecture drone replaced by a buzzing, vibrant energy. They weren't just leaving a class. They were leaving with a fundamentally altered view of the cosmos. For centuries, the galaxy had operated on a simple, universal truth. Death was the end. It was the ultimate, unassailable boundary that shaped civilizations, dictated philosophies, and enforced a certain cosmic humility. But humanity hadn't just pushed that boundary. They had tagged it with graffiti, taken a selfie with it, and dared it to do its worst. They were a species that didn't just stare into the abyss. They asked it if it wanted to get a beer and listen to a sad song. The Intergalactic Academy had been built as a space of academic safety. But with the arrival of humans, the rest of the galaxy was about to learn that the most dangerous thing in the universe wasn't the cold, silent void. It was the noisy, laughy, storytelling species that had decided the void looked like it needed a friend, and maybe some googly eyes.